So would love to kind of just go around the horn here. Introduce yourself to, I mean, again, we're all friends here, so we've I think at this point, everyone hopefully knows each other, but introduce yourself and talk about who you are, what you do, and we'll kick it off that way. So, right?
Thank you, Elena. I'm Ashok Khartam. I'm the founder and CEO of Circuitry.ai. We provide decision intelligence powered by AI to sales and service teams to optimize outcomes. Right? And I've been in this space for 20 plus years, had previous 2 companies that were acquired by PTC and Synchron. So we have half of the vendors representing some of the products we developed before. So thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is June. I'm from San Francisco and I'm part of a company called Amber. We're a venture-backed startup and also in San Francisco. I'm the chief of staff there. What we do is extended warranties for electric vehicles powered by remote diagnostics. But yeah, great to be on this panel.
Hi, my name is Rajib Bora. I am located in Midland, Michigan, where we have a factory. We manufacture American-made batteries for trucks and buses and ships and supply all over the world.
All right, so I'm going to kick this off with a question that's going to be for everyone because I feel that everyone is going to have a little bit of a different secret sauce to this question. So I want to talk about, does it make dollars and cents, right? At the end of the day, we need to make sure that it makes dollars and cents. So can we talk a little bit more about how you see EVs changing the way that really revenue models and service contracts are being administered? So talk through how you're able to build in this value. Ashok, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. I think to understand this, like again, I look at EV, especially when combined with autonomy as well as connected vehicles, as a technology product, not just as a mechanical product. So I want to look at, for inspiration, probably largest technology company that generates 5 times as much revenue as the entire automotive service contracts business. I think all of you can guess who it is, right? Apple, they generate about $85 billion a year in services as compared to, I think according to Warranty Week, $17 billion a year in automotive service contracts. And quickly walk through, there are 5 types of services to see how you can explore it in the future. First 2 that there is a overlap you are already doing, right? Financial side of it. There is a product you buy, it can be leased, it can be financed, they have the monthly plans and all of those things. Second one is the risk mitigation, like protection plans, maintenance. I know June will talk about those too. And then if you take the rest of the 3 services, actually where their majority of revenues come to is services in use. Right? For example, you may have an additional storage, iCloud storage, or other things that are provided, like in the, I know EVs, it could be battery management and things like that. That's a big portion of it. Other thing is adjacent services, right? They know what the customers are using their products, so we all pay for Apple Music subscription, Apple News subscription, game subscription, because they know majority of the time is used on those type of services, if it could be that, right? That's a big portion of it. And again, same thing is available in EV. We'll get into some more details of that, right? Because you can look at it as a energy storage, look at it as a computing server, all those things that are available in the EVs could become those adjacent services. And the final one is more as a platform that connects buyers and sellers, right? That's the app exchange type of thing. Obviously, car is used to buy groceries, to buy other things. Could you be the one that connects these buyers and sellers so you have a revenue source for that? So again, we may get into details, but I kind of want to look at it a little bit more than as the first 2 services we are very familiar with.
Yeah, I love the Apple example especially. June, what's your perspective here?
Yeah, I think electric vehicles are very unique in that they're way different to ICE vehicles in that a lot of the parts, especially in a Tesla, it's working on a replace model, right? On the headlights, for example, you can't repair those. You have to replace those, and it's like $2,000 each. So when I first entered this industry and I was benchmarking other service contracts from more traditional players such as Munich Re or Zurich, I would always find in their contracts, oh, covered part, exhaust. And I was like, wait a minute, EVs don't have exhaust. So I realized that these service contracts were all kind of like copy and pasted from ICE contracts. And I realized to be honest, I've never purchased an extended warranty contract in my entire life. But then for an electric vehicle, it made so much sense just because one repair can be at least, the average claim cost that we see on our end is $1,000. And for the average American, $1,000 out of their checking account is a lot of money. So we saw huge value in this. And to your point, these vehicles are more software defined, meaning that we can use this data to help customers lower the rates on their premium and do like a monthly subscription where there's no upfront fee and there's no waiting period and they can get coverage immediately. So those are like the two, I think, main points that Amber is like working off of, and yeah.
Yeah, when we talk about EV, we are talking about like passenger vehicles, like small vehicles, but mostly our batteries are used in buses, like transit companies' buses, like these are business application, right? Or trucks or boats. So what we have seen, like a bus, like a transit bus may cost you about $1 million, and 30% of that is batteries, right? And we supply the batteries. And maintaining those batteries properly is very important because they expect these batteries to go for 12 years. And we have seen a lot of time, the technicians are not properly trained because most of the technicians are diesel mechanic that are like converted into high voltage electric technician. And we invest a lot of time and energy in training them. And these are chargeable basis, and these trainings are actually profitable business for us. Training on high voltage battery, how to maintain it, manage it, how to troubleshoot it. That is one scope, and the other opportunity, we are working on some kind of a service level agreement with the bus companies so that they can go for a subscription-based model where somebody will keep an eye on their batteries, and when something goes wrong, they will be alerted. Those are the opportunities we are right now exploring at the different levels.
So I'm going to go right to the heart of some controversy. Ooh, I'm going to stir the pot a little bit with this question, which is future business models, right? So what do you see in the future in terms of maybe a direct-to-consumer model? We know that Tesla has done this, Rivian has done this, some of these very maybe not so successful EV startups have done this. But how do you see this existing in a direct-to-consumer model?
Okay, in my industry, it is always direct-to-consumer model, right?
Right.
The bus manufacturers sell the bus directly to the consumers,
Right,
which are like
right.
either school board or it could be a transit
Right.
company. So we don't.
So you're exempt from the controversy here.
June.
Yeah, so our largest distribution channel right now is direct-to-consumer, and I find that very interesting, especially in the vehicle service contract world, as most of these VSCs go through dealerships. But the reason that we're betting on the direct-to-consumer model for now is that we want this to be a very customer-centric experience. The way that I see electric vehicles is that as we're transitioning to a new age of vehicles, there's also a new age of customer experience. Excuse me. The car ownership experience hasn't changed in decades, right? And then Tesla was one of the first companies to implement this direct-to-consumer model and kind of change this entire game. Of course, there are still regulations that are in place that are tough to beat, but at Amber, we're really focused on kind of being the customer's advocate when they go into buying a used car, for example. We offer them a remote diagnostics program so that they're certified in that they're buying a non-11 car. So it's all these like small things that, it's not necessarily saying that, we're going to be only direct to consumer. It's just, we're really just focusing on what does the average consumer want right now. And for the Tesla owner, they're used to direct to consumer models, right? And that's what they're used to. So that's why we are betting on the direct to consumer model for now.
So I'm going to take the controversy even further. Are you saying that dealerships are not consumer-centric?
No.
That's not what you're saying. To be clear, that's not what you're saying.
That is not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I think there are plenty of dealerships that are working on the customer's behalf, and it's very different, right? Like if you compare Tesla to maybe like other manufacturers and other manufacturers that existed for decades, they've created really strong network with dealerships, and I think Tesla is just finding its own way of establishing that more direct relationship with the customer than dealerships do.
If I can go to it, again, I think Echo Auto manager said it too. It depends on the value added, right? What is the consumer wants in the experience to do it. If information is the only value you add, right? There is probably even before the EVs, internet and others try to disintermediate it, but it didn't happen because dealers do add value in some, right? In number of cases, especially in the service side and some to the sales side. I did buy my EV online, didn't have to work with a dealer, but I do think as the number of options are increasing, dealer could add a lot of value in educating the customer, getting the test drives done, especially on the service side. Again, I felt okay when the volume was less. I bought my EV 3-4 years ago, volume was less. As the volume is increasing, we realize there is a backlog. Then you realize, I wish there was a dealer close by rather than a central service center to do it. So I do feel yes, I think the value and how you deliver it will shift. Not that you don't need, I know there are a number of dealers represented, they do provide a great service, even the central service to do it. So I think there will be a need for it, but I think the way it is done, how the value is delivered will change.
So let's talk about service costs and also profit margins, right, in the fixed ops department. So I know Al previously, he had mentioned his customer pay RO was about $500. And so just curious on everyone's kind of perspective on how profit margins are how EVs are affecting profit margins in the fixed ops department. This is a very complex spider web. I don't know who wants to take this one first because I'm sure everyone has different perspectives.
June, we start with you.
Yep.
June's going. June.
So obviously we're a financial institution. We're not a service center in any means. But from our VSC perspective, we think that it's still so early because there's not enough third-party service centers that actually service like high-voltage Teslas yet, so it's really hard to tell. But what we find is that the access to parts is the most hardest for like these third-party centers to get in this game, and there is right to repair in Massachusetts going on, and but having access to refurbished parts or remanufactured parts, I think, is the biggest kind of hindrance to this industry right now. That's why I think this is like really important that we're able to. Sorry, let me take a step back. So right now, if you go to a Tesla service center and you have a battery repair, you're paying anywhere between $13,000 to $20,000. On top of that, you're putting an $8,000 deposit. Do you know why? Until Tesla receives that Tesla old battery pack back, you don't get that $8,000 back. But from a customer's perspective, wait, if one out of the several modules, if the rest of the modules is fine, why am I not capturing residual value on that? I know that these battery packs are high in demand. So it's like, these are like the nuances that are still really early to this industry that I feel like we're still trying to all figure out as an ecosystem on how to get these costs down, how do these costs not impact the customer, these third-party service centers, and even the OEM service centers. So I still feel like this ecosystem, I know it's not the answer that you directly wanted, But just from our standpoint, that's what we have noticed.
But again, this is a collaborative atmosphere here, right? So we're all grappling with these questions. So these are not easy questions, which is why I'm asking them. So, Rajiv, your point of view.
So when you're talking about servicing the battery, the product that we provide to the customer, we don't service the bus, like we service the battery only. It's more of establishing the product rather than making profit out of it, because the cost of the product is so high compared to the service. It's like service cost is nothing, because the batteries doesn't need a lot of service, right? And our old generation of battery, pretty much there is nothing much to repair. When something goes wrong, it goes pretty much on a scrap. But whenever I try to generate some service revenue, our target goal is about 50% margin, if you want to have a number.
50?
Yep. Below
Okay.
50%, I'm not interested in doing any service for you.
Ashok.
But volume is very less, so it doesn't
Oh,
matter.
okay. I was gonna say, yeah, no, that is true. That is true. Ashok.
Yeah, I think we all know through the public statements anyway, most of the EV companies are not making money. Only recently, right? Tesla got profitable.
Right.
Companies are investing billions of dollars. Dealers are investing a lot of money into it. I think especially with the somewhat of a price war going on in the new vehicles, I think in the future profit will probably come from the service side of it. The margins are high, as you said. I think there is a 40% margin in the parts or service contracts to do it. It will probably be true for even EVs too. Margins and the profit will come from the services side of the business or parts side of the business to do it. But to get there, you need to have the install base or the customer base to do it, which will take some time to build that to do this. So, but I think once that reaches that volume, I think the economics may come back to the way the economics are working right now. I think the services have because you are able to have that margin says, Rajiv knows nobody else can fix that battery except the team that he provides, right? So that knowledge, the parts that you have, and how you can provide a quicker service than an independence and things like that will drive the margins to keep the margins high once you have the install base.
No, that's such a good point. So it wouldn't be a conference in 2024 without talking about AI. So this next question has to do with AI.
Sure.
So impact of AI on your world, on your daily work. I'm going to paint this with a broad brush, and you can just AI your little heart out. So I won't pick on June anymore. June, you can marinate on your answer here. Ashok, I'm going to go right back to you.
Sure, no, thank you. Obviously, we are in AI. If we take first on a personal level, though, I think I'd probably benefit from AI hundreds of times a day. I mean, I think especially we are in the software, all our developers use use AI to generate code. Obviously, every time you open an iPhone, you are using AI as a face identification. When you walk through airport, you are using face and things like that. But for the companies, though, that's where we are focused on manufacturers. I think AI is going to play a significant role in every decision that's being made throughout the warranty and service life cycle to do it. Other reason, again, going back to my analogy is, if it is a technology product and it has more software component, more computers and electronics on your cars, one thing it's generating more and more of is data. That data has value. There is no way people can actually manually interpret this data and make sense of it. Either it's for repair, predictive maintenance, or providing additional battery management services and things like that. So you need AI to be able to do that. So we think AI is going to be as necessary as the web, we think, or an iPhone or a smartphone to do it. So that's how I look at it, right? That's what we are betting on is there is not going to be any service delivered, any sales delivered, or anything done without somehow AI helping along the way to do it.
Correct.
Right? So you know how I feel.
Yeah, being in San Francisco and hearing how many people are doing AI startups, it's honestly very, I don't know. Every time I hear another AI startup come about, I'm like, okay, so you're just a wrapper on ChatGPT, but what kind of changed my mind was that, to your point, we're this is a very specific industry where we have very specific data that no one can really attain unless you are very familiar with this industry. And then as we started doing the more remote diagnostics, which it was all manual, we were just all pulling these logs and we were trying to interpret all these false positives and trying to figure out what are the sequence of error codes that lead to an actual, diagnosis of what's the problem. And then we had several companies come to us asking, wanting this data. But our point was like, hey, you can pay a couple grand a year and have this data yourself. But really what we found the IP in our business was the inference of this data. And that's when we pivoted to an AI company. And I think, again, to my earlier point, everything needs to be customer-centric. And if we can use AI solutions to help not only businesses like B2B interactions, but also B2C interactions, then I'm all for it. And that's why we've invested in AI technology to build out our model right now.
So for me, it is all about ramping up, right? I mean, our manufacturing facility is going from 400 megawatt to 2.4 megawatt over 2.4 gigawatt over next year or two. So how do you ramp up monitoring these battery packs with manual labor? It is almost impossible to look at all this data and come to some kind of a conclusion. That is where I need him.
Yeah, that's very important.